Hi everybody, this is Nate. I'm going to work on my cross-section of a spaceship I'm working on for Project Cosmos. That's my science fiction universe. I'm going to open it up. Now this is going to be like a poster that maybe, hopefully, I'm going to try to sell. It's about 3 feet wide, 2 feet tall, standard landscape poster size. So this is it. This is the Morningstar and the cross section in all of its high resolution glory. Right now I've got a lot of the layers turned off because I want to work on the actual line art. There's information down here that talks about all of the different pieces of the ship that tells you, like, information, well, basic information, like, if I turn them on, you see the little dots, and what they pertain to, given the corresponding information down here. So what I'm going to do is, right now there are some pieces of the ship that are still a little unfinished, so I still need to work on it. It's about 99% finished, well, 99.9% finished. This is going to stay monochromatic. It's going to be sort of when it's finished, it'll look more like a blueprint, so everything will be in a shade of blue, except for these little dots, so that they'll stand out from the blue. And so we turn those off. And then we'll work on, where was I working? Oh yeah. So there was a space that was basically right here that I was working on last night. It was blank, and I don't know why I left it blank for a long time, but it was, and it was kind of bugging me because there's so much detail in this big open space. So I decided to change some things and fill some details in and put some little pieces and stuff. So I'm gonna work on the last of the blank area. So I put in I put in a like a maintenance access area. So they're kind of like, if you ever watch Star Trek, they're like the Jeffries tubes on the Enterprise. There's little maintenance access tubes that allow Jan, who is the main engineer on the ship, to crawl around and do her maintenance work. And these are like little maintenance nodes where there's workstations that correspond to certain portions of the ship. So like this part of this node here would maybe be, maintenance section for the engines, which is like this big huge thing right here, and all sorts of other stuff. And then there's another maintenance node right here that maybe works on life support or whatever other pieces of technology are here. And there's different access places. Like there's one in the hall here on deck 2, and then there's another access point in the engine room right here that goes to the aft of the ship. And so there's Jen right there working on something. But yeah, so let's see about starting up some new work here. Okay, so usually when I do stuff, oops, all right. So usually when I start on something new, I'll make a new layer so I'm not messing with the stuff underneath. And I either for these types of artworks, I usually work in isometric perspective, which is it's like a 3/4 angle, but there's no vanishing point. All the lines are parallel to each other. Well, not all the lines, but everything that's going that's going off in this direction is parallel to each other, and then everything going off in this direction is parallel to each other as well. And so it helps maintain the illusion of 3D without having to deal with vanishing points and stuff like that. And that's why I have this grid in the background, which helps me align all of the line work together, so it all looks like it's going in the same direction and it doesn't look weird or anything. And I use that as a little guide, and then I just go and draw in all my random stuff. So when I'm doing all this technology, I usually just draw up whatever comes to my head. I'm not, whoops, switch it to black. I'm not concerned too much with, like, you know, the mechanical workings of everything. I'm not trying to be an engineer. All I'm concerned about is just making it look like, you know, like it could be believable. So I'm just putting in a lot of pieces of you know, techie guts, I call it, the guts of the ship. And I worry about what the stuff does later after it's done, when I'm labeling all of the little technical pieces. Then that's when I think of, like, oh, this is going to be like, you know, a coolant manifold or something, or this will be a, you know, storage tank for, I don't know, lubricant or something. So that's usually when I label stuff. Right now, all I'm concerned about really is just making stuff that looks, you know, interesting. It's just, you know, it's technical noise. It's just there to be eye candy right now, so I'm not too concerned about that stuff. Right now, I'm just drawing in random stuff, like, you know, I've repeated 3 times. So I'm just going to put in some things here. Maybe these are like conduits or whatever. And then put a little metal ring there. And then have it go off. And then maybe little lines here for detail. Maybe these are little vents or something that hook into it. And then maybe we'll have this right here be little pin areas. Usually when you're working this small, like these dark areas, these big blotchy dark areas that I'm making are usually just like, they're pits of detail. So you want to have, like, there's a lot of thin line work, and then you want to accent that with, like, you know, little blotches of black or whatever. If this was like 10 times closer, if I was doing this at like way zoomed in closer, these little marks here, I would actually detail out a lot more. Like, maybe these are little pits where I would deal with like hooks or things or latches for this little panel to come off, stuff like that. But because I'm so far zoomed out, just little black marks are enough to sort of communicate that there's something there. And then whoops, and then I'll just put some more in here. And then whenever I do lines at this angle, I want these lines to make sure that they're going parallel with these guidelines, because they're going off in that direction. So, and then maybe I'll make one of the lines a little thicker than the other. And then I'll cut in a little bit here to show that maybe a thicker line weight right here versus a thinner line weight right here indicates that, well, this could be negative space. And so this volume here is thinner than this volume and this volume. So you're basically using the dark values to sort of trick the eye into thinking, oh, this part in here is smaller than the surrounding parts. So it's just ways of using line weight to convey things quickly. But the other thing you want to watch out for is tangents. And tangents are where lines will intersect with each other, and it causes an issue with confusing the eye and making two layers appear to be merging when they're not. So a bad tangent would be right here, because you've got this node right here hooking into this piece of machinery, but this line is going right into where this line connects into this tube, and it would confuse the eye, because you're thinking, is this thing going into this or is it not? So what you do is instead you'd put it somewhere where it's more obvious. But see, if I go back here, now there's another bad tangent here, because it looks like it's kind of going there. So it wouldn't be a good idea to really put a line going in that direction in that spot. So instead, what would probably be better is maybe a curved line. So maybe I can go from here and kind of do something like that, and then turn it into more of like a, turn it into more of like maybe these are tubes or something, and then that way it'll help not confuse too many things. Because also you can, these lines that are curving, these are called organic lines, and like super straight lines like these and these and these are called mechanical lines, because mechanical lines don't usually exist in nature. They do, but organic lines by far outnumber the number of mechanical lines you'll see in nature. Like crystals have mechanical lines, they're very straight. Some forms of rock strata have straight mechanical lines, things like that. But by far, organic lines like these tubings here and these tubes and stuff, those outweigh in nature, those types of lines and shapes outnumber mechanical lines by a bazillion to one. So that helps. I'm gonna keep working on this area. There's some space up here I gotta do too. So let's just work on that stuff up here. Maybe this big piece of machinery here has a connector piece up here. Make that line a little bit thicker. Now the tool I'm using is called the line tool, and the line tool is good for mechanical lines because you get this very straight cursor, and it lets you make whatever kind of line you want, and it's always going to be straight no matter where you go. So it's really easy to draw in mechanical work, like mechanical artwork, when you're doing technical stuff like this ship. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna go up here to convey that it gets bigger again. So it's gets fatter here, gets a little bit fatter here, and then gets thin right here, and then gets thick again. Maybe there's another little brace part right here, another brace right there, and then now what I'm doing is, the reason why these lines are thicker than the inside lines is it's to layer the artwork, so it sets a boundary to break out the shapes from the rest of the elements around it. That way you get a better idea of, like, oh, this piece right here is all connected, but these pieces aren't. It's just the way these lines are thicker. These lines have a thicker line weight because they're closer to the camera than this stuff right here, because it's behind these big pieces, these big objects. So I use line weight to break away, to layer things into distance. So like these lines up here, this line is super thick compared to even this. That means that if I zoom out, you'll see that, oh, this big metal piece of the ship's superstructure is actually over all this stuff, and all the lines get thinner. So the layering of the line work helps you determine what's on top of what, and it gives the eye a better idea of, it's like a road map. It helps the eye discern what's where and what's in front and what's behind, and it helps sell the illusion when you're working on a 2D surface to make a 3D 3D picture. So work on that, and then so I think I'll put in some little more tubes right here. There was a guy I used to watch on TV when I was little, and he had this TV show called Secret City. His name was Commander Mark, and he used to draw these like big murals, and I used to draw those things all the time. I think my dad has one up hanging in his office, and I did it when I was like 11 or something, I don't know. And this is sort of like that, because it's basically a big giant mural of a spaceship, and instead of doing weird zany stuff like I did when I was little, I'm just doing a lot of random technical things that look like they belong there. So it's kind of like the ship is sort of like a technical version of those secret cities that I used to work on when I was little. So whenever I work on this stuff, it always reminds me of the things I used to do as a kid. So thicken this line a little bit more to break it out, and then so this middle line is thinner than these outside lines, and what this does is it makes it look more like a three-dimensional object, because this line right here is the corner edge. So you have the top here and the side here, and these thicker lines help, like I said before, with the thick line work. These thick line weights help block out that shape. So it helps you think, oh, that's like a flat rectangular piece that's coming off there. And then, I'll just do, another one here. And then maybe there's wires that are coming out right there, shooting off. So let's see. Let's see here. I think I've got. There's a smudge in here, and I'm not exactly sure where it came from. Where is that smudge coming from? Nope, not coming from that. That is so weird. That has to be, that's weird. I've got this little smudge right here that I want to get rid of. And when I turn off, whoops. Well, it's definitely that. That's the whole project folder. But when I turn off all the layers that are associated with that little area, it's got to be that. Oh, it is that. Okay. Never mind. Found it. I'll just erase that out. And then go back up to my work layer. Oh yeah, right here. So we're just working on random machine stuff. This must be like watching grass grow for all you people. Like, oh, another line. But, whatever. I thought I would show what I was working on for everybody. So, whoops. Now, I'm doing another line here. Now, the reason why I'm doing these lines that were really, really super close together is I'm trying to show a tiny little bevel off from this top part to this side part, and that little bevel helps add a tiny bit of detail. See, there's like right in here, there's a bevel between this side piece and this top piece. There's a little bevel here, and those little lines help add, you know, just a little bit of extra detail and realism to the artwork. If the bevels are everywhere, they're all over the place, and plus machined stuff often has a bevel on it, whether it's a really narrow bevel or a really fat one, depending on the scale that the object you're working on is built to. It depends, but yeah, like machine stuff always has that kind of thing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge over here on the layers. I'm going to merge this layer that's highlighted blue down to the work layer that all of the line art is located. So I'm going to merge that down, and so now all this stuff over here that we just worked on is now mated. It's all baked into the layer, the work layer. So now I'm going to make a new layer, and it shows up right there just above the line art layer, and I'm going to make something else now. So this is going to be a I'm using the marquee tool here to create a circle, and then I'm going to use the stroke command with 1 pixel width to create an outline, a stencil of that outline, of that shape, that circle shape. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to then use the transform tool, and I'm going to rotate it so that this bottom part is parallel with these guidelines, and then I'm going to grab this top node of the transform cage and then bring it up here, and now the circle is looking like it's more into perspective with the angle of these guidelines. And then I'm going to shrink it down just a little bit, and then I'm going to rotate it just a little to get a better angle, and then hit enter to finalize it. Now let me move it up here where it's a little open. So the reason I do that is because you want this top part of the circle to go down like that, and then you want to go like that. So what you want the dead center of the circle to be parallel with the guidelines, but in the center of the circle. So this way I know that this circle is parallel or in perspective with everything else. Now the line's looking a little flimsy because I used the transform tool, and plus it was 1 pixel across already anyway, so I'm going to copy it and then plop it back down on top of itself to help thicken the line up. And I'm going to do that a few more times. There we go. And then I'll just merge those down again. So now I got a little bit of a thicker line that's easier to work with. And I'm going to create a cylinder here, like a technical little thing that's round. And let's see, I'm going to put this here. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to pull this off, and I'm going to make it off to the side here. Hello. My computer's being a little slow because I'm recording at the same time, which is awkward because I have like 16 gigs of RAM, so I don't know why the computer's freaking out. Anyways, so I'm going to do this off to the side here, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a complete piece, because actually I'll do it right here so I can see the guidelines. I'm going to make a complete technical piece, because if I did it where I did before, where I'm actually working, I'd have to erase a lot of stuff because it would be behind things. But in this way, I can do a whole piece, and then I can save it for my library, and then use it in later artworks and kind of regurgitate my art. And that way it doesn't. That way I don't have to do stuff over again. So we'll. Whoops. You know what? This guy's not exactly in perspective. There we go. So follow the guidelines. Oops, forgot to switch to black. And then follow the guidelines. Now these lines are kind of let me thicken these lines up a little bit so they match the line weights of the ovals or the circles that I made. They look like ovals, but it's really a circle. But you know, we're in perspective here, so you never know that. And then I'll erase out the part that's on the far side because we don't need to see that. This is a solid object, so the part I erased is the part we can't see. It's behind it. And then I'm going to take the lasso tool and just grab this piece, and then I'm going to copy and paste it into its own layer, and then I'm going to move it down, and I'm going to create little pieces of like line work, just little details, and then mat those down to the. I'm going to do a little bit of cleaning here because the lines are getting a little thick at the bottom, and I'm not crazy about that. Make it a little bit cleaner and a little bit easier to read because we are looking at this illustration at 200%, and when this picture's printed out, we won't see it at that. We will see it at this size. This is what it'll look like when you're looking at it printed out. And so those little details down there, see how much those little details shrink on that thing? They really move together. They become like. So I'm just gonna clean this area, and these lines aren't really gonna like show up when you're zoomed out. So yeah, they've got to be nice and clean and clear so they don't get muddied up when they get closer together at full size. I had my computer freaked out and it crashed on me, or the recording crashed on me, so I have to start a new recording session here. So sorry about that interruption. But so yeah, this line right here is not exactly parallel to the guide. See, it's like a little bit visible here, and it's closer. So I'm gonna fix that. I'm just gonna make that a little bit thicker, and then I'm just gonna use the line tool, the lasso tool, kind of delete out that extra line. And it's looking a little flat right here. It doesn't look so round anymore, so I'm gonna extend that out. Sometimes there's like little bits of surgery I gotta do on this. But also it's going to be super small, so I'm not extremely worried about it. And then I'm going to copy this piece again, and then I'm going to shrink it to bevel the cap, and now make it look like it's sort of sloping down like that. And then I'm going to take it again, and I'm going to put a little cap on it like that, and then I'm going to copy it again, and I'm going to shrink it way, way down, and give it another little cap at the end right there. And so because it's kind of like a really shallow cone, there's stuff back here that typically you wouldn't be able to see. Where is that line? I hate it. I hate this part. So I have to like dig around and then. Oh, there we are. So I'm just going to shallow that out a little bit. There, now it's a little bit cleaner. And then I've got all these layers right here from when I copied that oval. So I'm just going to bake it down so that they're all connected. And then I'm going to fatten up my line tool a little so it's a little bit thicker. And then I'm going to create these little marks. So just to give it a little bit extra detail. Maybe there's like little notches here where the bolts go and stuff. And remember, it's too small to draw in the bolts, so these little marks are easily, you know, good enough to deal with that or to communicate that. And then we're going to take this inside piece, and let's see here. We'll just take part of it and then move it maybe right there. Looks good. And then I'm just going to erase some little parts of it to thin the line out a little. And then, whoops, thin that line. And then I'm going to add a new piece that comes off. Now, this line right here this edge right here has to be the same as this one over here, because they're part of the same shape. So I'm going to make sure that they fit there, and then I'm going to erase out this because obviously that line would be behind this object. So now you can see that there's another shape taking form. And then I'll just go down that way. And then another one. Like, I'm doing a little tiny bits of beveling just to sort of make it a little more interesting. Whoops. And then, let's see, maybe we'll just bring it over here. Maybe it's like this big chunk of machinery. And then move it just a little bit so I can see what I'm doing here. And then I'll just thicken that line up because it's going to be part of the outline, so its line weight needs to be a tad thicker than the inside details. And I'll bring it down. So where this line stops and angles in, I have to remember that this line has to stop where this line stops, but be parallel to these lines. So there's like an imaginary line right here that lines up with where these two line edges stop. And then I'm going to have it go in a little bit. Whoops. Like that. And then I'll bring it down there. Or actually, I'm going to bring it in. Because if I went down, it'd be a little of a weird tangent, like I said earlier, because you have this line and then this curve coming in, all meeting at the same point. It would look weird. So I'll put it in, I'll move it, and then I'll do a little cut-in piece right there. And then actually that's good, because then this little piece adds a little bit more interesting, a little bit more variety to the overall shape, and it makes it look a little bit cooler. And I'm going to thicken the line and put some, maybe put like a little bit, some vents or something. Straighten that. And then I'm going to copy that. And then I'll just bring it down. We'll have little vents. Maybe I'll have like a little access, whoops, have a little access port right here. So maybe the vent is inside a panel. And maybe I'll put like, maybe I'll put a little mark right here. No, I'm gonna put, actually, I'm gonna make this line thicker, just a little bit. Just a little section of it thicker to make it look like there's space in there. Like I said, you know, like little holes that are black, so it convey there's more there, but you don't have the space to put anything more inside of it. So we'll just keep with that. And then, what else are we gonna do? Let's add another piece. Whoops, thin the line again. Add another piece here, here, here. Maybe this piece goes all the way across actually. And then we'll have, it comes, maybe it bevels in. And I'm going to erase this line because there's another bad tangent coming in, and this stuff's going to be behind this piece I'm putting, so I'll cut that out. And then I'll just cut it out just a little bit, so there's a little notch of a bump right there in the outline to show that this piece actually extends out past that rear portion that I did earlier, that I am erasing because I'm putting this new bigger piece in. And then like that, and then another piece like that, and we'll make that piece parallel. Put another little piece in there, and then go across. Actually, I have to go right here. So when I make pieces that have like the same, because this side is going to be over here, when I do that I have to make sure where's the center line of the object. So there's a center line right there, and then there's a center line right there, and these are imaginary points on an object that tell you where you need to break, where the center of the piece is. So this is the center, then I need a line on this side, has to be exactly the same length on the opposite side. Whoops, make sure that's parallel. And then remember, this side's got to be parallel with that, and then we bring that in, and then bring that in, and then, you know, we just delete out, erase out the center line, because it's just it's what's called a construction line. It helps you keep everything correct and normal. Normally nowadays I just eyeball it, but if you feel like you need to see it, then just draw it in really light if you're working on, like, on paper or something, or do it if you're working digitally, then just do it like on a layer beneath your work. And now you've got this piece that looks a little bit more, now it's got a little bit more interesting stuff going on. And then we'll thicken up this line because this is the outline of the shape, so it's got to be a little bit thicker, just a little bit. And then we'll put, and then just to make it a little bit more interesting, we'll put some other like pieces in here, more of those little gaps, just to show a little bit of detail, to sort of complement the overall shape. Maybe it goes up this way too, and maybe there's like a thin line that comes out, like a groove. Maybe there's like a paneling here, and these are little locks that are inside. And then maybe we'll do another little panel here, and then now I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this oval here and I'm gonna reuse it. So I'm gonna take that, copy it out, and what I'm gonna do is shrink it. And then, because things are a little bit fuzzy, because what happens is when you use the transform tool in Photoshop, as soon as you execute the command for the transform tool, what it does is it wants to anti-alias everything. And what that means is, in this case, is it takes something that's sharp and it fuzzies it up. And that's not good. You want to keep stuff sharp, because if it's fuzzy, it's just not going to look good. So then we're going to go up to Filter and to Sharpen, and then click Sharpen, and see how it gets. See if I undo it. See how you can see it change from going fuzzy to sharp again. And that helps because we're gonna be working on you know, really tight detail and stuff, and so we need the lines to be super fine. And I don't know, where am I gonna put this? Where should I put this? Maybe I'll just put it right here, and I'll just have it go off behind it. And then I'll put like another piece here, sort of that sort of insinuates that it's connected to the back part. And this is just kind of like a smaller thing. Now we reused a detail for, you know, just so to save time. But just to make it a little bit more unique, I'm going to erase out some of these details and maybe draw in a new detail. Just a new little one, maybe a little triangle. There. Now it looks like it wasn't even copied from that. But you know, it's a little trick that saves time, so you don't have to do stuff over and over and over again. And then, I guess that's good. Whoops, forgot to merge that down. And so, wow, this is kind of going on. See, like what, 40 some minutes. So I think what I'll do is I'll just stop it right now, and then I'll continue on, and I'll do some more stuff later. And so yeah. So until then, adios.